As part of Module 4, we want to make sure everyone's comfortable logging on in the field. Today I'm going to show you using my iPhone, but you can use any device with data, so a tablet or your smartphone. Anything works. This is my iPhone. I'm going to log on to my browser, so a browser window. I use Ecosia. It's really cool. It plants trees every time I search for anything. Besides the point, we're going to type in the URL pg-cloud.com/Hawaii. So this is going to take you to our inventory every time. I guess this is the perfect time to mention that you should bookmark this page so you don't have to type that in every single time you're out in the field. Great, now that the page is loaded, you are looking at the first page of Oahu's tree inventory. So these little yellow dots are showing organizations or locations of where citizen foresters are currently mapping trees. We are going to move through this as if you are out in the field mapping trees right now with your phone in your hand. So the first thing we're going to want to do is log in. Head to those 4 lines up in the right corner, click, and you're going to see a drop-down menu. At the bottom of that drop-down menu, there's a log in button. This side panel should appear, and you're going to enter in your username and password. Everyone's username is going to be the first letter of their first name and their entire last name. So Shannon Rivera, my username is S. Rivera. Quick detour to say that every citizen forester will get a login, so check with staff to confirm your username. Moving on, everyone will start with the same password. So it's important that the first time you log in, that you go into settings and change this password to something that only you know. Once you're logged in, you'll see your organization or the location that you're going to be mapping in. It's usually just one site unless you're mapping in multiple, and then you'll see multiple. You can see that I map in multiple sites. I live in Honolulu City, so I'm going to zoom into my location as if we're mapping near my house. The way I'm zooming in is the same way you would zoom in on a photo on your phone. You're just using your 2 fingers to pull yourself closer to the map, and I'm going towards that yellow dot. Once I click on it, it shows me that that organization or my location is Urban Honolulu, and I'm going to want to click Load Trees. Ooh, low battery. If you're like me, close out of that. Let's disregard it. Okay, probably a bad idea. This is actually a good teaching moment. You want to make sure that your devices are charged before going out mapping, because if they die, then everyone's got to go home. You need a device to be able to map outside. Back to the tutorial. We're waiting for the trees to load in Urban Honolulu. They should be popping up. There they are. Those are all of the trees that have currently been mapped in the Urban Honolulu area. For this tutorial, we're not interested in the trees that have already been mapped. We're pretending as if we're in a new location mapping new trees. So we're going to want to find our current location. On the left side menu, there's a GPS location finder. You're going to click that and it's going to find your location. If you don't have location settings on for your browser, you might see this. You're going to want to click OK so the browser can find your location. If you don't see that window and you're not able to find your location, you're going to need to go into your phone's location settings and allow your browser to use your current location. If that doesn't make sense to you, go ahead and contact staff and we can try and help you out with that. Once I click OK, the site is going to find my location. Yep, that's actually pretty accurate. I am currently sitting in my apartment, downtown Honolulu. There I am. The next thing we're going to want to do is get rid of that halo around your location so we have a clearer view of the map. So again, you're just going to go back over to that GPS toggle, press it, and it's going to be able to show you a clear map of your area. Let's say we're in a mapping group, we've walked across the street, and we want to map this tree on the corner of Nu'uanu and Beretania. What are we going to do? Well, my friends, I'll tell you. Exciting, we've come to our first real task of the day, and this is to add a tree. You're going to want to go back up to those 4 lines in your right corner of the screen. It's going to pull up this where you're going to click Add Tree. That's going to take you to a window that shows you these options. For now, disregard the planting sites. We do map stumps, but for this exercise, we're mapping a tree, so click Tree. You're now in Add Tree mode. Anywhere you click on this map, you are going to make a point, so be careful. You can no longer zoom in and out. You're going to want to make 1 dot on this map, and that's to map the tree. Your one touch will be in the area where the tree is. Estimate as best as you can. Once you click, Voila, you've made your first point. The most important thing from this pop-up window is that primary ID number. You're going to want to tell whoever is recording on the data sheets this primary ID number, so when your team leader goes back in, they can enter all of the correct information to the correct tree. And the way that we do that is knowing the primary ID number. As I scroll through, disregard this stuff for now, I'm going to pause at staff member. This shows that you made the point, and this is helpful when we have any questions about if the tree is in a funny place or if it's accidentally been deleted, we can trace it back to that person. Further, down the list, there's an option where you can add photos. This is really important if you need to make any notes. Once you click on that, you can either take a photo right there or browse your photo library if you've already taken a photo from that tree. Scrolling back up to the top, we're going to want to click out of this window. We're done there. That's all you have to do while you're out in the field is get that primary ID number, maybe add some photos, and there is your first point. Be careful when you do this, you're still in add tree mode. If you click up at the top, you'll see that you can stop adding tree, which is what you're going to want to do if you want to scroll around that map again. Let's say that once we've added this tree point, we want to move it to a more accurate location. Maybe you've made the point too close to the road, or maybe it's in a parking lot. We want to make sure that each point is as accurate as possible because they're tied to GPS markers on our map. And that's really important if anybody else wants to go back in and check up on this tree. Luckily, there is an option for that, and it's the Move Tree button in that drop-down menu. We've went over how to add a tree, and now we want to move a tree. So once you click Move Tree, yep, we're in Move Tree, you're going to click on that dot. You're going to need to re-click on that dot in order for the system to know that that's the dot that you want to move. Once you do that, it highlights in blue. The next time you click on your map, that is where your tree is going to move. So say we want to move this dot to the tree right next to it. I'm going to click on that tree. A pop-up window is going to ask you if you want to move this point. You're going to click yes. It's going to ask if you want to update the address of this tree. You're going to click yes. So yes twice, and that dot is going to move over to the most accurate location. If you're really careful the first time you make a point, most likely you won't need to move it. What happens more often is you accidentally bump your screen when you're in add tree mode, and you're going to need to delete certain points that you've put in a pool or in the middle of the street. So let's go ahead and delete the point that we created. Go ahead and click on that point. It's going to pull up a window. You're going to go into the details. So click on details, and up in the left corner of the next screen, there's a delete button. This is going to delete any unwanted points you made by mistake. Have a lot of caution with this button. You do not want to delete any points you did not make yourself. If and only if this point was made by mistake, go ahead and click yes, and that point will be deleted from the system. And look, we're back to square one. We don't want to make points just to delete them though. The primary ID number gets deleted along with those trees, and we can't reuse them. So biggest takeaway is be careful where you place those points. You want to make them as accurate as possible. And don't worry, you'll have as much time as you need to practice. Once you're done with your session, you can click back up in the corner right of your screen, log out, and you're done with your session.